But generally Mondays are my cooking day because I have nothing I have to do. I'm usually recouping, resting from the teacher training. And I like to make my food for the first few days of the week. My rule is cook once, eat at least twice. So today I'm working on a couple of different things. The first thing I'm doing is roasting peppers. My grandmother always roasted peppers. We used to cook them in a frying pan in olive oil. And they were very, very good. But now, with health consciousness, I just put olive oil on top of the peppers. These are Cubanelle peppers, and I can't remember what these are called. Anyway, they're sweet peppers, and they'll be good. So I'm just going to put them in an oven at 400 degrees. And I just wait until they smell cooked to know if they're done. They have a little sea salt on them. That's it. So I'm slicing up the shiitake mushrooms, and I also have these, I forget what these are called. That's a habit of mine in the kitchen. Anyway, they're these long mushrooms with a big thick stem and a little teeny cap, and they're very kind of meaty in consistency when you slice them. And the shiitakes too. One thing about mushrooms is that I do not wash them. I'll wipe them down with paper towel, a damp paper towel, but I find that they're way too absorbent to be washed. So if you wash them, they tend to fill with water, and then when you cook them, they kind of become a mushy, tasteless mess. So you have to do what you feel comfortable doing in your kitchen. But for me, just a little wipe with a damp paper towel is good enough. So I'm preparing a saute with Brussels sprouts and mushrooms. I've learned to slice the Brussels sprouts thinly, and that way I can cook them in a really hot pan, and they can keep some of their beautiful cabbagey texture, and they have a lot of surface area for absorbing the flavors. For me, the flavors are generally olive oil, garlic, and chili peppers. So I've cracked my garlic cloves about 5 minutes ago, and I do that because I learned in a cooking class that I took once that if you can crack your garlic cloves a little bit early, all of the beneficial chemical changes in the food begins to happen. So the antioxidants and the properties of the garlic that promote healing and well-being come to the surface. So 5 minutes early. I'm a Sriracha queen. You can use crushed red pepper if you'd rather not use this, but I think this stuff has the best flavor, and it makes stuff really hot. I like hot food. Probably not good for my pitta personality, but you know, life's got to be enjoyable. I use olive oil freely. I buy it from Dimitri, who's my Greek yoga student, and his family makes the olive oil, and I'm not skimpy with it. I think it adds a lot of flavor, and good fat is what the brain likes to eat. So I just don't even measure it and just use it. Everything that I cook, in a sense, begins with saute. So what does saute mean? It means that I'm going to take that sriracha, the garlic, and the olive oil, and I'm going to let that pan get warm. I'm not going to let it get so warm that the garlic burns, but I'm going to let the flavor of the garlic and the chili make the oil just right. So my olive oil is just getting hot now, and it's starting to sizzle a little bit in the pan. You want it good and hot so that the flavors really meld into the oil. The oil becomes infused. And when I hear that sizzling, I'll just add the mushrooms. And I like to work a little bit in layers so that the mushrooms, as they cook, they have a unique flavor and quality to them. I'll start to saute them in the olive oil. Now, like I said earlier, mushrooms are really absorbent, so they're going to start to absorb this olive oil very quickly. And because I don't want it to get too greasy, if I need a little moisture, you can add some water, you can add some fabulous ginger tea, or you can add a little white wine, and I'm going to add some white wine today since it's the holiday season. Now my pan's starting to get a little brown on the bottom. My heat's high. Instead of lowering the heat, because I like a little seared quality to the mushrooms, I'm just going to add a little wine. And that'll add enough moisture to the mushrooms that they'll start to steam a bit, letting off their own moisture and creating a really nice consistency. If you have a gas stove, it's even better because you can control the heat more. I do add some salt to the food. If you have high blood pressure, you might want to skip this step. I have low blood pressure, so I get to salt freely. So I'll add some salt to the mushrooms. Again, thinking in terms of layers, where this mushroom is actually the first layer of the stir fry that we're making, or the saute. I definitely don't have knife skills and I don't know cooking terms, but I can make good food. Once these have cooked, it's only been about a minute or two, right? I'm going to start to add the Brussels sprouts. And the Brussels sprouts are going to cook way down, and I also want them to cook quickly because I like the idea of a little bit of a seared quality to the Brussels sprouts. Now, cabbages are full of healing properties. They're associated, like most cabbages associated with Brussels sprouts, are like most cabbages, are associated with anti-cancer properties. So they're a nice thing to eat. You'll notice that the Sriracha gave those mushrooms a nice red color, and I'm not going to cook the cabbage too much. I'm just going to cook it enough that it still has some crispness, but they're not tough. I'm not going to cover my pan. You can cover the pan if it starts to dry out too much. It'll add some steam. But if you cover your greens when you're cooking them, they will tend to lose their color. They turn sort of a browny green rather than staying this nice bright green. I cooked this at my mom and dad's last night for our Christmas dinner, and it was really good, so I wanted to share that with you today. Now, one thing you can add to a stir fry like this is a little bit of an acid. So a little acid might be a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, or you could add the juice of a lemon or a lime. And each of those will create a different flavor profile. I'm just going to add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Again, not too much, just enough. And that can reduce the need for salt. So our Brussels sprout and mushroom saute, I sprinkled some pomegranate seeds on top because it's the holiday season. Every year at Christmas, my father buys me a pomegranate. Here's the one that he bought me this year. I soaked it overnight because a friend said they're really easy to peel. And then when I was at Whole Foods, they had a whole container of them already peeled. So I bought that for today. I'll peel this one, Dad, don't worry. So I'm gonna give it a try. Let's see how it is. Super good. Okay, it's been maybe 30 minutes for the peppers. I can smell them. That's how I know they're done. They look really good, huh? Just like Grandma made. So these are very nice to eat. You just eat them, you know? Salty good.